Hi, everybody. I'm Rainbow, and welcome to Dimensional Walking. Today, I thought I would talk about something that has been a part of our society or kind of in the sci fi part of our society, especially in movies, for the past 20 years. And that has to do with the zombie topic, the zombie apocalypse. And I got to thinking, and I thought, well, could it really happen? You know, is it something that can happen? Will it happen? Is there a possibility that it's like something in our horizon? And I thought, well, I'll do a little research and dig in and kind of see what I come up with. And I think that a lot of what happens with these kind of topics is that movies take it to the next level. But even though movies will take it to the next level, what about the reality of something like that we could actually experience? Is it even possible for that to happen, for something to reanimate a body without the consciousness and have it come back alive and do the one thing that um, I love doing, which is eating? Not people, but I do enjoy a good home cooked meal. And I'm not the best cook, but I do like to cook. And Michael is a really good cook too. But besides all that, is it possible? Is it something that can actually happen? So this is some of the information I came up with. And I thought, well, with the movie industry kind of blurring the lines of reality and science actually saying, oh, it can't happen. There's some things happening now which changes everything, and that's climate change. Climate change is warming the ocean waters, it's warming the Arctic, the permafrost. What about, viruses that are like millions of years old? What happens if they come back? What happens to humans if that happens? Well, I don't know if it's necessarily reanimating us after we're dead and having us come back, but I think there's a possibility for us to have to deal with this in the future, but just in a different way than the zombie movies state. So, the first thing that why actually this came to my mind is because I saw a video where this guy asked Alexa, and Alexa is the Amazon Lab 126, was actually developed by Amazon. And so when this guy asked Alexa about the zombie apocalypse, Alexa answered. So for those, almost everybody knows about Alexa, but for those who are like not certain the origins of Alexa, Alexa is Amazon's virtual assistant, which was developed by Amazon Lab 126 and announced in 2014 along with Amazon Echo smart speaker. Jeff Bezos first pitched the idea of a voice controlled Amazon Echo device in 2011, and the technology is based in part of the Ivona, a Polish speech synthesizer that Amazon purchased in 2013. So William, let's see, Tunstall Pedo, the founder of the AI startup Evie, also invented several key technologies used by Alexa. So what was really interesting was that um, she actually stated that the the zombie apocalypse is going to come in May of 2028 and that it would start in the UK and Thailand and then eventually move to the US. And, she was very sure about it. And she stated it like it was a fact. She also stated a while back that the World War III was going to start in 2023. And maybe some wars did start, some things did happen. But it wasn't like the World War III, like what we were thinking, like the apocalyptic type. but I think she was just basing her information on all the unrest that's happening around the world. But the zombie apocalypse, that was kind of interesting that she would answer in that way. So what I thought I'd do is just kind of go back and I found stories about something that actually kind of kickstarted people's like fear of a possible zombie apocalypse. And this was back in 2012. It was the Miami cannibal attack. Now, cannibalistic aspects of humans has always been there. But I think what makes this even more scary is that when you have somebody coming at you that's dead and coming back to life, that's very scary. So, but with this, it kind of has something similar because they thought this guy who had. Let me go into the story, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what people had said about this. So, in May 26, 2012, Rudy Eugene attacked and maimed Ronald um, Popo. I think it's Popo or Popo, a homeless man on the MacArthur uh, Causeway in Miami, Florida. During the 18-minute filmed encounter, and it wasn't filmed by a person, it was filmed by the actual cameras they have on the highways. Eugene accused Ronald of stealing his Bible, beat him unconscious, removed his pants, and bit off most of his face above his beard, including his left eye. Poor guy, leaving him blind in both eyes. As a result of the incident's shocking nature and subsequent worldwide media coverage, Eugene came to be dubbed the Miami Zombie and the Causeway Cannibal. The attack ended with Eugene when Eugene was fatally shot by an officer of the Miami Police Department. Although friends and family filled in details of Eugene's life, the reason for the attack remains unclear. Eugene, 31, employed at a car wash at the time, was divorced and had a series of petty criminal arrests from age of 16, with the last in 2009. While police sources speculated that the use of a street drug like bath salts might have been a factor, experts expressed doubt since toxicology reports were only able to identify small amounts in Eugene's system, leaving the ultimate cause of his behavior unknown. Ronald, the victim, was 65, a graduate of Manhattan's. Um, I don't have some of my information is gone, but he ended up being homeless and had long been presumed dead by his estranged family. So, you know, what people had thought was about the bath salts. And I remember hearing about that, and I'm hearing about people using bath salts for in different aspects. And I'm not in, I don't know anything about how they create stuff, but it was being used in a form of drug use. So that's what everybody thought. So in this information that I found, nope, eh, he didn't have hardly any of it in his system. What caused him to do that? Could just be he was mentally unstable. I don't know. Now, there is also something that can be used to create a zombie slave. So here's a story. The story of Clairvius um, Narcissus. Narcissus is a great example of a zombie. One day in 1980, he walked into a hospital in um, his hometown in Haiti, almost 20 years after he had died. His family had buried him, and that's what they knew. He was dead. He had died, and they buried him. They later found his grave disturbed. What they didn't know was that a local voodoo doctor, a Bokor, stole his body and enslaved him to work on a plantation. When the voodoo, I'm going to call him a dark shaman, died, this man, he was able to get away. So he wasn't enslaved to this man anymore. Authorities believe that the voodoo doctor had poisoned him with tetrodotoxin, tetrodotoxin, a powerful neurotoxin that produces a comatose state. Had him buried to convince the family he had died, then had him exhumed, later feeding him Deuterostomonomium, a hallucinogen known as Jimson weed, to keep him enslaved. And it's just, and it was one of the first cases known of zombieism. So there is actually that word, zombieism. So, and I don't know if any of you remember, I might be dating myself. I think Rainbow and the Serpent was a fantastic movie, and it was kind of based on this, where they the plot is about a man who experiences um, dealing with voodoo and a voodoo shaman, and it's fantastic. So I highly recommend Serpent in the Rainbow if you guys haven't heard it. I don't want to say any more than that. I'm not promoting the movie. I'm just saying that as a sci-fi chick, I loved it. So HBO did a movie, The Last of Us, in 2023, and Michael and I loved it. We watched it, and it was really a good movie. Netflix did a great job. Not Netflix, HBO. So Last of Us was an HBO post-apocalyptic drama series based on a 2013 video game of the same name developed by Naughty Dog. The show's co-creators Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin have been praised for their adaptation of the game, which some say is the best video game adaptation ever made. The first season of the show follows Joel, Pedro Pascal, and he's pretty he's pretty handsome and amazing, a smuggler who must escort Ellie, Bella Ramsey, an immune teenager, across the United States during a pandemic caused by a fungal infection. The show focuses on the developing relationship between Joel and Ellie rather than the action sequences. It was really wonderful, and I'm so ready for them to add more to the series because it was great. So that got me to thinking, okay, well, this was really uh, what got people going on zombies and the changing of the body and the fungal aspect. So I looked further into it, and then NASA climate scientists warned of a potential resurgence of a zombie virus or viruses that can come back from the dead. I don't think it's will come back from the dead, but they can come back from the dead. And this is because of warmer conditions that are causing the Arctic permafrost to thaw. If it thaws significantly, it can cause viruses that have been dormant for tens of thousands of years that can reemerge and possibly endanger animals and humans. And I think I said millions of years earlier, so obviously I was wrong. It's tens of thousands of years. Scientists say the permafrost serves as a time capsule for viruses and the mummified remains of long gone animals. Scientists successfully reanimated a 48,500 zombie virus that was found frozen in Siberia. They did it to study how it works. When they did that, they realized there were 13 other viruses of similar nature that were being trapped in the permafrost. They believe with the warming of the earth, these viruses can be released into the atmosphere or weaponized for destructive purposes. That's something else that we got to think about. And so I think if there's any truth to the zombie virus aspect, it's probably this. It's probably, viruses that have been dormant for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, that come back because of the earth warming. So, something else that I thought was interesting, and I found this out, and this is something that actually happens in nature. There's something called the cordyceps, or a zombie ant fungus, that infects insects such as ants or spiders. The ants, uh, the ants are actually possessed, or they're taken over, and they do something they would never do. They abandon their colony and climb onto the underside of leaves, biting down hard, doing a death grip, locking themselves into place. And this is the last thing that they ever do. Like other parasites, the cordyceps drain their host completely of nutrients before filling the body with spores that will let the fungus reproduce. So, thank God we're not ants. And then there's something else that we're dealing with today, too, and that is the xylazine called trank, which can make people drowsy and cause breathing, lowers heart rate, and lowers the blood pressure to a dangerously low level. And studies suggest that most people are exposed to xylazine when it is added to other drugs, especially illicitly manufactured fentanyl, cocaine, and heroin. The big problem is that Narcan won't work for overdoses because trank is not an opioid or a narcotic. Xylazine is used on many different animal species, such as cattle, sheep, horses, dogs, cats, deers, rats, elk, to calm and facilitate handling, performing diagnostic and surgical procedures, relieve pain, or act as a local anesthetic. So there you go. So, we're dealing with the problem with drugs on the street, and that has to do with all those videos that you see, and I say a lot of videos of people who are standing in a zombified state, who are bent over in a zombified state, who just can't, they're just not able to function. They're zoned out completely. And then what I didn't write on here is that it actually, with humans, that it eats up the body. It just creates holes, and they have to have their legs and their arms amputated, and it's terrible. So that's something that, if you want to say that we are dealing with some zombie type stuff nowadays, it's true. We really are. But it's kind of self-inflicted, or it's people who have drug addiction that are dealing with this zombified kind of uh, mind state or lack of mind. So there you go. So can we actually have a zombie apocalypse? I think there's different variations of that. And I think the lines are blurred a little bit because I don't think science knows everything. I think the movies make things much more dramatic than they are. But when you're in the moment of dealing with stuff, I think that you get those emotions of that fear, that concern of what can possibly happen, especially with so many people on the planet and as a society. How are we all handle it if something like this happens? So tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I appreciate you guys watching my videos, watching Michael's videos, and subscribing. So if you think we're a worthwhile channel, let people know. Thank you, take care, and I'll talk to you soon in the next video. Bye-bye.